Hey everyone, I'm Breanna from Boom, and welcome to Boom Chat. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Victor LaValle, the award-winning author that's bringing you Eve, the brand new comic book series about a dangerous journey across a future dystopian America to save the world. When the ice caps melted, most of humanity was lost to the hidden disease that was released. Now, a mysterious girl named Eve has awoken in a secret and must deal with a world that is nothing like the virtual reality she was raised in. In order to save her real father, Eve must embark on a deadly quest across the country, but she has no idea of the threats that await her or the price she will pay to restore life to a dying planet. Victor. Oh my goodness. I am so ready for Eve to show up and save the world. We need her so much. We need this child. My goodness. So, in the back of the first issue, you tell us your inspiration for the story and where the idea came from. Would you mind sharing that with the people watching?
Absolutely. So my wife was the inspiration for this entire series. My wife is a writer just like me, but she focuses a lot recently on climate change and writing about it from the really, really local level all the way to the global level. And essentially, because I'm her husband, as she's doing all this research, writing all these pieces about it, I was basically catching stray bits of her knowledge and wisdom while I was like in bed reading next to her, Um,
Yeah.
and because she was just so good at it on the nonfiction end of things, I knew, even as I was gaining an interest in the topic, I knew I was never going to be able to uh, do anything that she wasn't already doing really well. But I thought, what I could do is maybe tell a story about this, write a comic book about this. And the other thing that inspired my wife to get into climate writing, because that wasn't always the thing she was into, was that we have two children. And those two children coming into the world made her start thinking even more specifically about what are the effects the environment, this planet are having on these two kids, and how do I extrapolate that out into thinking about all the kids everywhere and all the human beings everywhere, not to mention all the animals and insects and all the rest and the
Yeah,
fauna.
it's really important. And I'm so excited that we get to have this story and go on this journey. And, it's something that a lot of people don't really think about because it's like, what is gonna happen if everything melts at the same time and what's gonna like what are the repercussions? And so I'm so glad that like you're opening up that conversation for us to start having. It's so important. Um, so on the other hand of that, you wrote it. But what was it like for you seeing Eve brought to life through Meek art for the first time?
Well, I have to say, one of the great joys of entering the field of comics has been like when I'm writing fiction or writing the script, I'm coming up with the best version of whatever I can create from my mind. And the gift of all this is when I funnel that script to a really talented artist like Joe, and then what comes back is just so much richer and more complex than I could ever imagine. That's obviously the beauty of working with a truly talented artist.
Ah,
So it's
it's so
thrilling.
good. It's so beautiful. And it's just it's you get the story and then you get the visual and it's so lovely. And with that, I want to know what are some of your favorite scenes that you've seen in issue number 1 so far?
Well, the I just find it beautiful the way that Joe laid out the moment when you understand that Eve is in the chamber, and we sort
Hmm.
of pull back and see that. And then on a sentimental level, um, I just love the bit where Eve and her dad have dinner together, and they're just talking with the image of a part of New Orleans sort of on the screen, and the way there's all this history being suggested. But it just, to me, like the beauty of, even though this is a sci-fi story, end of the world story, climate change story, it's also just a story about a little girl and her dad. Um, and so I loved seeing that as well.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's like it's the simple moments and like the times that you take together. Like so I relate to that on a personal level because like me and my dad, we sit and we have coffee and like
Yeah.
those are the moments that I really cherish and the conversations that come out of that. So I'm really
Yes.
glad that like you really have this way of like picking up these smaller moments as well and adding them in and it makes the environment so much richer. And I love that.
Thanks a lot.
Um, Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for your work. It's so beautiful. So my next question is about Eve. Well, it's sort of about Eve. Anyway, I'm just gonna ask you.
Please.
She's not a superhero and she's not a warrior and she's 11. But reading this comic, I can tell that she is so, so special, Victor. You wrote that's part of why she's so spectacular, because she takes the journey anyway. And that really stuck with me. And we don't see many stories, we don't get many stories about young Black girls who are the protagonists who get to do something special. And what lessons do you hope that people will take away from this story and from Eve herself? Because for me, like, I am also a Black woman, and it's just so wonderful for me to see, like, you get these characters at a younger age now. And so, like, so much, you're going to have so many more kids who get the opportunity to see her and learn from her and grow with her. So I'm wondering, what do you hope people get from her?
Oh, well, that means the world to me that all of that was conveyed to you. And at heart, I just thought, like, I really want readers to love Eve as much as I hope it's clear I love Eve. And also that I wanted Eve, it's no slight to any other kinds of stories, right? But sometimes I think, like, in an effort to course correct for past misrepresentation, right? Whether we're talking about race, gender, sexuality, whatever, sometimes characters are overcorrected to the point where they become equally unreal just on the positive end instead of the negative end. And what I wanted Eve to be, I didn't want her to be a super genius kid. I didn't want her to have superpowers. I didn't want her to be fearless. I wanted her to be all the things that an 11-year-old kid might be. And then her superpower is just, she's willing to try. That's it.
I love that. It's so important to be willing to try, because so many people are like, well, I'm probably going to fail, so, like, why should I even do it? But you don't know until you actually try and take the journey. And I love that about Eve. She's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. Right. And that's so special. And, like, thank you for giving that to us.
Oh, thanks for saying that. That's exactly all I dream of for this. All the other stuff, the climate stuff, all the rest is hopefully interesting and thoughtful. But the real journey, or the real heart of it, is just seeing this kid doing her best and trying to make it to the end, trying to make it to a place where, is she going to save the world? Is she going to save herself? Who knows? Yeah. Well, I know, but just to fall in love with a kid trying and failing. And, as I said, we have 2 kids. I know that most of growing up is failing and occasionally succeeding. And that's, to me, I feel like it's almost worse when you have a character who just always succeeds, because then as a human being, you kind of go, well, I can't do that. Right. I failed 3 times a morning,
I know one of the most important things I was told when I was in college was learn to fail better. Take those failures and learn from them. Fail better every time. And I love that.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So this story, Eve is amazing and powerful, and I can't wait for everyone to meet her, but I need to know more about Wexler. Is he based on a teddy bear that you are currently acquainted with, or where did he come from? Tell me everything about him, please.
Yes, well, I owe Wexler to our older son, who, when I would say it's probably 2-3 years ago now, he went through a phase where he just loved drawing kid toys that he had, but as vicious killer monsters. So he had one of his drawings was a teddy bear that had 8 arms, and this didn't end up being the exact design for the Wexler in the book, so I'm not ruining anything, but he was a teddy bear and he had 8 arms, and every arm had a weapon in it. And I loved the drawing immensely. And then I said, let's talk about this. Who is this? And then he said, well, this is E92, and he's a robot teddy bear security guard. And I was just like, okay, and let's talk it through. And so then when it came time for this story, I said to him, do you mind if I use E92 in the book? And he said, no, it's fine. It's fine. Just make sure and tell people I came up with it. So I got to tell.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, I love that you asked him too. Like, oh, well, my goodness.
He He's a smart kid. I wouldn't put it past him to take me to court for copyright infringement or something. So I
Oh
had to
my
get
goodness.
permission.
Kids and the things they come up with. Oh my
Yes,
goodness. They're amazing. Okay.
absolutely.
So speaking of kids, this story is not only about the fact that children are quite literally our future, but they're the ones that are going to save it, or at least we hope that they will. What are some ways that we can all try and do better for future generations?
Well, sometimes this is my wife talks about this. It can sound slightly controversial, but
Hmm.
um, individual behavior is not the way that we're going to save this planet.
Right.
It's just not. One person recycling is not doing the job, right? Uh,
Hmm.
and that's it. One certain person recycling is wonderful. One person uh, reusing things, all that stuff, it's wonderful. But the scale at which we have to work
Yeah.
is a national scale, an international scale. And what that requires is the kind of stuff that there's a whole ton of teenagers doing so well, which is advocating for political and economic and corporate interests to have to change the ways they do business. And
Yeah.
so, what I would say, when you're old enough to vote, I would urge you to vote. I know there's the sense that, like, oh, nothing changes, the system doesn't matter, but I promise you that's not the truth, right? The only way it's going to shift is all of us being a part of that. But the other way is protesting, is shaming the hell out of corporations and
Yes.
politicians to make them have to do better, largely because they don't want an economic price for
Hmm.
doing badly. And I think there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with being pragmatic about it and knowing,
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the way we have to change this machinery. And we have the power to do it through social media, through putting our bodies outside in the world in protest, through writing to people who matter to us. And if I could also say, through talking to your parents,
Yeah.
grandparents, aunts, uncles, and just telling them, this really matters to me. I want this world to be here for me. I know you love me and you want it to be here for me.
Yeah.
Here's how you could help make that happen. And you might cut in a way, in a certain way, that kid might cut through a family member's apathy in a way that a
Hmm.
million movie stars or musicians or politicians will never do.
Yeah.
Because on an individual basis, of course, your family wants this world to be here for you. So use that.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Victor, that is such wonderful advice.
Oh,
Oh
good.
my goodness. Thank you so much for your time today. It has been so lovely chatting with you and about the world and about Eve and how special she is. And, for those of you watching at home, be sure to pick up Eve #1 in stores now.